Hello everyone, it is Saturday morning. This is your host, the Cowboy, and welcome to Elliott Wave Cafe. This is Bitcoin and Ethereum Elliott Wave analysis, where every couple of weeks we take a look and try to make sense of what's happening in the price of these two assets through the eyes of the wave principle. So let's begin here. We're going to take a look. We're going to start with Bitcoin, take a look at the 1 week, and then dive down to some lower time frames. We'll take a look at another count and then analyze a little bit the candles, moving averages. Then we'll start and switch over to Ethereum and see what the price section says on there. So if you've just arrived into this channel, I wanted to run you quickly through my white count, which is my primary interpretation for Bitcoin so far, where we have a wave 1 cycle and a wave 2. And then we've had another impulse in here in this wave 1 primary, followed by a wave 2 in here in a flat formation. So as soon as this flat formation completes, and there is some early indication that it could already be done, we should embark in a much larger move here in this third wave that can take Bitcoin towards $500,000 over the next cycle in here. That would complete a much larger, that would be in the middle of a much larger third wave cycle that should push it upwards of $1 million. So, let's dive in and take a look at what's happening inside these internals. I mean, this move out of here, it's a clean impulse. I want to kind of go in kind of what I see and what we already know. So we know that we have some corrections in here, and we know that we have some impulses. Now, this move from this highs here back kind of sideways, right? This to me looks like it's a corrective. And it doesn't have any indication that we're, in some kind of an impulsive decline or anything strong happening. I mean, we're clearly moving, from the lower left here to the upper right in a continuous growth of this network. So the price is just following the structure. Now, I want to be respectful to that. I want to be respectful, and I want to count the Elliott wave in the direction of the primary trend, which is higher, right? And we can get all kind of, pullbacks within this trend. And we've had several. I mean, you've had one back in here in 2015. You've had a big one between 2017, 2018, and 2020, right? Almost a 2-year correction in here. Then a big impulse that took us north of 65, almost to 70,000, so 67,000. And the market is just kind of trying to find a little bit of a balance in here, trying to just kind of regain its footing, see where the bulls and where the bears are, and it's just trying to basically digest this huge uptrend that we've had from 3,000 all the way to 67,000, right? So big move. Now it's taken about a year, right? This correction kind of started back in the April of 2021, and here we are almost a year later here, and without being able to generate a trending market. The market is basically correcting. So this is my primary interpretation. I'm going to continue to favor this until something breaks and something tells me that this count, it's inaccurate, right? And one of those, if I'm looking at this as being a B wave of a running flat, let's say that's a 3-wave move up to new highs, as long as this wave in here, the C wave, does not come below the wave A, right, at about 29,300, this qualifies as a running flat. And if that is correct, we should start to trend higher and move upwards out of here. If this doesn't happen and the C wave comes below the wave A, that means that we can switch over to an expanded flat where wave C travels below the wave A. And there's, it's got a lot of room to kind of do that, but, it cannot really do that, too much. So inside a C wave, you want to see a clear 5-wave pattern. If this move becomes, let's say, from this highs to this lows, it's a wave 1. This little blip in here, it's a second wave, and then you get a 3, a 4, and a 5, and Bitcoin gets back to 10,000, right? That it's not going to be an expanded flat. So there is some limits to kind of how much the C wave can travel, and one of the most important ones, it's the internal structure of the C wave decline. If you can count a clear 5-wave decline, and stay within the fib parameters of a C wave versus wave A, then you can argue that this could be an expanded flat. So we're still very, very early on that. We don't have any indication. We haven't actually broken below this. And if we do so, we have to do it briefly, because what it looks that we might have in here, this could be a fourth wave. So a final fifth here final push here in fifth could terminate the C wave. And I'll get to that in a second. So let's just assume that this is done and C wave is complete already. Then we need to start trending and start beginning to see an impulsive move higher, and you got to get back above 66K. All right, that would be an indication that likely this was a flat in here and you're starting to move upwards. So let's dive down and take a look at the smaller time frames. So I just wanted you to kind of see what I'm thinking about this larger structure, why I prefer this to be a 1-2-1-2, right? Because you know, it just fits this overall correction in here as the largest correction in this overall pattern. And I have a count where, you know, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know, when we're going to take a look at that. But this is my primary interpretation on this. This is kind of what I think it's going to happen. So now let me go back to a smaller time frame. So let's jump over to a 2-day chart. And this is kind of how it looks. So we have the high of 68,978. Now Bitcoin hasn't done a lot since last time we've talked, right? It tried to break. It didn't. You know, it did another high in here, another swing, and it kind of fall back. So I'm not getting a lot of indication that this move it's actually beginning, right? It is still struggling to rally. It's still struggling to rally. Let's jump over and take a look at the 1 day. And this is how this looks. And let me just kind of make sure that this is clean. So there is a lot of arguments in how the C wave declined from these highs. And you can see in here you have a pretty big correction that takes place right here. This is the largest correction of this decline, right? This one is kind of small. This one is kind of small in here. And this one is the largest. Now, it's kind of hard to have, let's say, a wave, let's say a wave 4 that's so disproportionate with the other wave 4 that's at a larger degree of trend in the middle of this third wave. So that is one of the issues that I have with this decline in here. So I'm very aware of that. So there's a couple of ways to count this. You can go, let's say that's a wave 1, that's a wave 2, you have a wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5. So you can do that here. You can go wave 1, wave 2, right? Wave 3, wave 4, never goes into the territory of the wave 1 in there, and then you sharp down and move in a wave 5. So wave 3, it's not the smallest. Wave 5, it's smaller than 3, whatever. Wave 1, it's, let's say, an extended wave, and you can kind of push it and count it like that if you want, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're done. Now you can go and count it kind of the way I've had it before, where this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in here. Then you push in a small, so you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You push in this flat in 2, and then you go in another 1, 2, 3. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, large 4 in here, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 3. And then that's a third wave, and then you push up in 4 and then down in 5. So you can kind of count it like that as well. So both ways are fine, and it's debatable. It's a debatable move if this is a whole impulse or if this is a correction. The only thing that bothers me at this is this move in here, right? Because this looks like it's almost like a break in the middle of this decline, and what that suggests to me is that this could be just a simple B wave. Now the decline is strong, it's big, right? And if you look at this advance from here, you can kind of see that this wave in here splits the move in two. And you can argue that this is a B wave more than you can argue that this is a B wave or an X wave. So I have arguments on my side to justify, right, that this is an impulsive decline, and this count in here in this ABC could be valid. Now, what's not happening, it is that I'm not rallying from these lows to these highs, right? If this is complete right there, I need to start rallying higher. I need to do this. I need to go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the market moves sideways. So this is sending me a message. The market is basically sending a message telling me your expectations here are not getting fulfilled. You've had a nice impulse. You've had a setback in here, another impulse in here, and the market is just kind of falling flat on its face. Now, I can still stay bullish as long as you're not coming below these levels, below 33K, right? But I would have to start counting this in such a way that I'm forcing this count a little bit, okay? So you can go in a wave 1 out of here, and then you go in an A, B, C, and you can have a flat 2, and then you can do 3, 4, and 5. So let's say that that's a 1, then you go A, B, C for a flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you start to rally, and you create a squeeze higher out of this move. You can see it plenty of times when the market, I mean, look at this thing, right? When the market doesn't look that bullish, but then all of a sudden it starts to rally upwards. So maybe this is not done. Maybe we got to do a move lower like that. And this is a W, ABC, that's an X, and I'm doing another ABC, and I'm moving lower in something that looks like this, in a combination, right? You go ABC for a W, you go up in X, and then you go down in Y. I'm going to try to take these lines out of the way so you can kind of see it, and it's going to look something like that. And you can come back to this W, right, all the way to these levels, and you can have a WXY. If you're not happy with that, you can do, right, you can do an ABC, and you can have a zigzag. If this is impulsive to you, right, you can have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for A, up in B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you do an ending diagonal in the C wave. So there's a lot of ways that this could become bullish, while this formation here kind of, runs its course and just starts to just kind of take different shapes, right? And maybe it just needs more time to finish up. That's basically the bottom line. Right, so as long as this low is not get taken out, there is still a good argument that this could be a bullish move. Now, Elliott wave, allows you to kind of sometimes, right? I mean, it sends you into this kind of mindset that you see what you want to see, and you always kind of have to check yourself and just say, well, as much as you think that your wave count is correct, what's the counter arguments? I mean, what if you're wrong, right? And look from, like in a chess game, right? You're the white, and then you have the black player right in front of you, and then you switch the board and see kind of what he sees looking at you. And just kind of think from that perspective so you can still play a decent game and get yourself into a good position. So I have some arguments. They're not very, very strong, right, that this is going to turn out in a bullish move. It's possible, and as long as this level doesn't get taken out, right, I can still kind of hang on to that. Now, here is another thing that could happen in here. Since we're not that happy with this decline in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you could see how we kind of struggled a little bit with some counts in here, and since this move is kind of sideways, what if this happened? What if this move is not done yet? What if this third wave is here, like that, and then I'm doing a triangle in a fourth wave that's maybe near completion? This wave 1 moves here. This wave 2 is actually back in here, just a kind of a short wave 2, like not with a lot of retracement, right? Maybe 20%. So you go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for a 1. You finish the first decline. You go up in 2. Wave 3, let me see if it's equal with wave 1. So that's fine. And then you're doing a triangle. Now, you would say, well, wave 4 entered into the territory of the wave 1 by quite a bit. Although maybe if you're going to a line chart, you're not going to see that, right? But let's just assume that we're taking the price action, right? The cash price without the closing prices on whatever time frame you're looking at. And you say, fine, wave 4 went in there. Now you know that as long as the end of the wave 4 does not terminate within the territory of the wave 1, that is a valid count. So then we go in here and we count this as a triangle. So we go, let's say that's a 3-wave moving up in A. You go down in B, C, maybe D wave is not done, maybe it is done, and you do a D and an E, and you kind of still move sideways and you finish up, and then you flush lower and you come back to 100% right here, C versus A, towards 31,000, maybe 30,000. You can even come a little bit lower like that, and you can kind of do a quick sell-off between this, and you can still finish up in a C wave sequence. Maybe this is what the market is telling us. Right, that this move in here, it's still not complete. You still kind of move sideways. Frustrates a lot of traders, right, by not picking a direction in here. All the while, we still have a triangle. We have one more flush down in a fifth wave. You complete C. You complete 2 of a flat. Now, if you're coming below these levels, it's going to be an expanded flat. If you stay up into those levels, it's going to be a running flat. But the bottom line is that once that's done, you're going to be pushing higher, and you're going to move towards 200,000, 100,000 and 200,000 in the next larger count. So I hope I hope you could see the arguments here regarding kind of what's going on in terms of discussing this flat structure, right? So just to kind of recap, it could be done, but the market is not telling us a whole lot from this level, right? It's kind of tough to count this impulsive and to say we are beginning an impulse out of here. You know, we have a little indication. We have higher lows yet. We don't have higher highs. We just have higher lows. So this is a low, this is a low, this is a low, right? So the market is trending higher slowly. But from the upside in here, you have lower highs. So you're going into this kind of converging formation. For me to gain confidence, this would have to move higher. All right. So I think I beat this horse to death. This is the flat scenario. Okay. So now let's take a look at the next count. This is the red count, and this is my triangle interpretation. And if you wanted to see this, how this looks on the longer scale, you look at this as a 3 of 4, right? And you're looking for the completion of a fifth wave cycle rather than, you know, a larger third wave cycle that I've showed you before. So that's a 1, that's a 2, that's a 3, and you're doing a fourth wave, which still sends this market higher. And this fifth of fifth, that's going to come as soon as this triangle completes. Now you can see in here, right, that this is kind of how this looks. So WXY for the wave A. So just like we've had it before in that 3 wave. So 3 waves in here, 3 waves in here. And instead of this being a 5 wave, right, you're looking at this because we've had this argument about this issue that we have here in the middle of the chart, that this is a B wave instead, and that's a decline in A, up in B, and then down in C. So now you need a D wave advance. And maybe this is what's happening. You're having a A wave in here, right? This is your impulse. So you go up in A, down in a triangle in B, and then up in C. So instead of this triangle breaking lower, triangles could break higher as well. And instead of starting the count of a triangle from this level in an A, B, C, D, and E, you're starting it the other way. This is an impulse, right? You go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like a leading or not even like just a regular impulse in the wave A. And then you come down in an A, B, C, D, and E for a B wave, moving sideways like that. And then you push higher in the C. Or if you want to do an A, B, C, W, X, and Y, that's fine as well. Okay, I don't have a problem with it. But this could still squeeze the move higher. And think about the count that I've just showed you before. You can get excited and say, wow, this is the beginning of a larger move, and this ABC in a flat is over, and you're actually moving. And all the while, you're just doing an ABC. So it's very important if you get there, how you get there, and what's going to happen once you reach those levels. Right? If you continue to break higher, then the flat scenario starts to gain ground. If you're getting rejected, that means that you're still in a triangle. So what does this all mean? What does this all mean? How can you trade these moves? Well, we've been pretty successful at trading some of the swings in here based on this retracement. So you can still do trades out of here. It's a little bit tougher, right? And positioning, you know, it's tricky. You kind of have to know what you're looking for. So if it's a triangle, right, you have to know how to trade this triangle upwards. If you're breaking a D wave, you know, you start buying and you're looking for this move, right? If you're breaking lower, then you're looking for that fifth wave if you want to trade that fifth wave. So you always got to know what you're looking for in the trades, because there is analysis and then there is trading, how you're applying this knowledge of value wave structures to put you in the right position to pick up some good trades moving forward, right? And sometimes you just got to sit on the sidelines and just say, well, I don't think there's anything really tradable right now, and I'm just going to have to keep waiting. And this is one of those situations. We have to see what happens here. And I'm not super comfortable in opening new trades. We actually opened one here. We traded this and we kind of got stopped out, or this lagged in here, but the break even. You know, we traded this long in here, then we traded this one, and I think it was the small one that we got stopped the break even a couple of days ago. So this is, you know, there's still opportunities, right? But you kind of have to be careful. You got to tie your stops. You got to make sure where you're wrong and all that stuff that we talk in the program all day long. So this is the triangle scenario. And then you're going to get an E wave in here and then push higher, right? So I don't want to go and talk, you know, and say, well, you know, like, what if this is a triangle at a different degree, and then look at the, you know, look at the much, I mean, there's so many scenarios that you can spin, that it's not worth complicating your mind with so many, you know, so many things, right? Like in my mind, I got 2 scenarios in here. I got that flat scenario, right? And then I have the triangle scenario. Now you're asking yourself, well, both of these are telling you that you're going to go higher, right? Upon this completion. Now, what if you're wrong and this market kind of crashes lower? How are you going to prepare for that? Well, nothing can really prepare you for a crash or for a sell lower. You got to take action. Either you got to sell your Bitcoin, or you got to buy puts, or you got to sell calls, whatever you want to do to kind of hedge that long exposure then you have to Bitcoin. I mean, that's maybe something that you can do, right? But here is one of those scenarios, and I think I have it in here, right? What if this wave, it's a wave 1 in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I talked to this, in the live stream we've done on Thursday with our members, that, this is one of the things that I'm kind of looking at. I'm not happy with this fourth compared with the second, so hear me out, or it's a bit large. But if it's not the beginning of a 1, 2, and this wave 1 actually terminated here instead of back here, right? Then this allows for an A, maybe a move up in B, and then down in the second wave, in the C wave, in the sharp C wave decline, and that can send you much lower, not in a flat, but rather in a zigzag. But I think that this B wave is kind of small, right? If this is all I'm getting in here, then I'm willing to kind of switch it back to the flat. If this B wave kind of pushes higher a little bit more and it's still kind of corrective and choppy for a few more weeks, and then you're selling lower, you can have this A, B, C in a second, and then you push higher in a third. So that's an even more bearish scenario, right? In an A, B, and then down in C. And if you're in the scam, that's totally fine. I don't have a problem with it. Just so you know, right? If you're pushing back above 67, this thing is probably gonna not gonna be working out, right? And then the other one, which is even more bearish, right, is my yellow count here, where you're actually thinking a wave 1 cycle has already been completed, and then you're just beginning a move lower here. And this is going to be, wave A of this 2. So this could be something like this, right? You go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for A, you go up in B, and then down in C. So this becomes, let me just kind of clean this up. Why is this doing that? Because it's not below the origin. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit of a signal in here. Just kind of forget that. I'm not sure why that is. But anyway, so you're going to get an A wave, right, in here, in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then you're going to get a B, and then you get it, because you got to have proportion into this move. So you might come, let's say, all the way to, back to, I don't know, 5,000 in Bitcoin, right? If this is a major cycle, super cycle wave top in Bitcoin, it's 67,000 here, and then you're beginning a much, much larger decline that can take 2 to 3 years to unfold in a big ABC. Right? It's possible. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but I just don't know how this network will survive if you will have such a big sell-off. I have no idea. I have no idea what this would, how you would trigger such a big sell-off, what it would come from, if it would be a massive sell-off in the stock market, if there's going to be a major war in the globe, if this gets banned, if the network gets hacked, I don't know, if there is that 51% attack or whatever they call it, right? So I have no idea what would trigger such a big sell-off. But it's obviously one of the scenarios that lingers in my mind. You always think as an investor, what if you're wrong? I mean, your level of conviction could be, varying from 0 to, let's say from 0 to 10. But you cannot just blindly, assume that things are going to work your way. You got to think sometimes at the worst case scenario. And this is one of those, right? If this is a finished move, then you're looking at an ABC, and, the only way you can do is, if you want to keep your Bitcoin, is to kind of hedge it to the downside and just look for methods to kind of do that. Like I said, either buying puts, or selling calls, or, taking, shorts via the futures market. Maybe you're long on cash, you go to the futures market on CME, and then you're just like shorting Bitcoin over there, whatever. So anyway, this is kind of the largest kind of bearish scenario. But just to kind of recap, my favorite here is the white. Then I'm going back to the red. Then I'm kind of going back to this black, and then the last one, it's my yellow. So hopefully this kind of give you a kind of comprehensive outlook in kind of what I'm thinking in terms of this, and then also how I'm kind of thinking about what's going on inside of some interpreter. So this is kind of a top-down view, and then you dive down inside these moves, and hopefully this helps you out. Candlestick patterns analysis, there is not a lot here. these patterns are still kind of sideways. I mean, with a lot of failures, up and down swings, just kind of what happened in here, right? So I can't really put a lot of credence into anything that's happening in here. It's pretty much sideways, so I don't have a lot of read. Just until the market will start to give me some hammers, some bullish engulfing, something that can scream at me, hey, you know, there's a new move coming, and I'll be all over it. But until then, it's just telling you, just wait a little bit in here. And then moving averages are not looking that good, because especially on the weekly, you have broken below the 50-week moving average, you've broken below the 21, and this one kind of provides resistance. So they have to be taken out. You know, from a momentum perspective, the bears still have the upper hand because they're trading on the weekly time frames below these levels. And on the daily, let me take a quick look in here. On the daily, we're below them. We kind of went up, we came down, we went up, down, and now we're back below them with a 200-day that's kind of pointing lower at the moment, right? So this is not very encouraging. That's why we got to push to be able to you know, get back on the bullish train. Otherwise, you know, bears are starting to get beer muscles in here, right? And just say, we're going to sell off. So, you know, give me that Bitcoin because I'll short it, right? So that's kind of where we are. And then on the weekly time frames, you know, the 200 week, it's moving up. It's flattening a little bit in here, but you're exactly at those previous 2017 highs, which is at about 20,000. So this will probably be a very strong support in case Bitcoin decides to kind of sell off in this ABC or in that, you know, let's say A wave or whatever it's going to end up being by the time we're selling off here, if we do. So a little bit of a negative on to, you know, the moving averages. So guys, this is analysis on Bitcoin. Now, you know, I spent almost 30 minutes talking about Bitcoin. So hopefully you're sticking with me, because we're going to jump over and take a look at the Ethereum. And as usual, I'm not going to spend as much time on Ethereum as I do in Bitcoin, but I also have a couple of structures in here. So one is the bullish one, a similar story in this ABC, right? Where you're looking for this move to be done in the C wave. And this impulse out of here looks a little bit better. If you look in Bitcoin, and this may look corrective, so this could be a 1, 2, and then you can get a 3, 4, and 5, and you could begin this larger third wave in Ethereum. I don't know if that's going to send you back to 150,000 Ethereum. I mean, it's some outrageous numbers, but you know, you've been kind of climbing inside this channel. So again, just like in BTC, it appears that a flat is forming in wave 2. We should be heading to new all-time highs upon completion. This is one of my long-term charts that we have in the chart room in the pro room. So again, just looking at some indications of these levels, this does look impulsive. This looks like a correction against this move, but we have to overtake this trend line in here. We have to start to move higher above it, right? So if that's a 1 and you're getting, let's say, an ABC in 2, that's another 1 and another 2. Let's go. Let's see if that's correct. If not, you know, again, maybe that's a 1, you're getting a 2, 3 triangle in 4 in here, one more push lower, right? Although it looks a little bit uglier than it does in Bitcoin, this kind of structure in here. The next one that I have, it's the, you know, it's a triangle scenario up on the green count, I think it's called. Let me just kind of save this up. But just so I'm not going again to, you know, to all the counts, it's a similar story. If you're breaking below this level, that means that the C wave might not be done, and you're still looking, you know, for something like that, right? In an A, up in B, and then down in a C wave to kind of finish this off. Near A wave, or maybe slightly below, up into the trend line, and then a push back up higher. So let's pay attention to this count. I think it's pretty strong, and you know, this was a big impulse, kind of terminated back in there. This was likely a 3-wave move. So it's my best interpretation at the moment. So now, kind of going to the other count, which is the triangle. Right, back up to a, let's say, 2-day chart in here. Wave 1 cycle, just like in Bitcoin, wave 2 cycle, 1, 2, large 3, and then a big running triangle in here in this A, B, C, D, and E. And that's an A in a triangle, B of D, and then up in D, then down in E, and then push higher to the upside targets towards $10,000 in Ethereum, you know, or possibly higher if this fifth wave, let's say, extends for whatever reason, or if it just gets stronger or something. But we're going to have to deal with that. That's a good problem to have, and we're going to deal with that once the prices kind of shoot up there. For right now, we're kind of stuck in this kind of messy price action kind of moving side. And if you look at the total tree, if you look at the total tree market, this is exactly how it looks. Literally, it's almost tick for tick. Even if you're excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, the altcoin market, you're overlaying that to Ethereum, and you're pretty much looking at the same chart. So I know people, I've seen people on YouTube and everywhere trying to analyze total tree and all that. You don't really need to do all that. You have Ethereum in here, and then you have Bitcoin, and you're just analyzing these, and in my view, it's enough. So when these things start to trend and start to move, you'll see it. You'll see it in Ethereum, you'll see it in Bitcoin. There's no need to look at the other kind of market caps. When we're doing analysis on a lot of altcoins as well, to just kind of see what's moving and what's not, but we're not wasting a lot of time doing extremely strong analysis until the market starts to kind of trend, and then everything else kind of moves. Luna is the only one that's kind of pushing towards those highs, but even that one kind of starts to look a little bit shaky. And then I wanted to take a quick look also at the moving averages. So similar story like in Bitcoin in here, Ethereum, it broke below these levels, and look at what happened last time that happened, right? Because you kind of came lower, you went back above it, and now you're breaking below, and this 21, it's about to cross below 50, and that's an ugly kind of looking move. So if this happens, that means that Ethereum is going to probably go back to $1,000 towards the 200-week moving average. Hopefully not, but as we're kind of trending in here, right, and it kind of looks good, you're at about $1,000, $1,044, but being below this moving average is not a healthy environment for price, right? Because it emboldens the bears to kind of stick with the momentum to the downside and say, we've lost this trend upwards, and at least on an intermediate basis, we are looking lower, and we're going to pound this Ethereum as much as possible to the downside, and then kind of continue to look lower. So another thing that I wanted to mention before I close this video, it's very important what's happening over on the macro scale, and I've done some comments on Twitter as well. As Bitcoin and Ethereum, these are macro assets now. Everybody trades them. They have futures. They have some ETFs, right? And then people are aware of these moves, and they are treated as risk assets, right? So it's almost like, and you've heard people talk about this, it's almost like you're trading Nasdaq or the S&P 500 on leverage, right? On triple leverage or whatever. They have those triple ETFs, and they move 3 times, the underlying or whatever. And especially lately with this increase in risk and risk off, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum kind of tend to mimic what's going on in the stock market. So it's very important to kind of see what Nasdaq is going to do and what the S&P 500 is. We have a Federal Reserve meeting coming next week, and they're going to increase rates with about 25 basis points. But their commentary, those, that press conference that happens shortly after, the release of the rates is coming, right? Then he's going to get a lot of questions, and whatever he's going to say there is going to be very, very important for the risk assets. If they're going to be very aggressive because the inflation is at 8%, right, that's possible that that's going to hit Bitcoin, it's going to hit Nasdaq, and it's going to hit S&P 500. If he's being more dovish, right, these formations out of here could break upwards. So let me take a quick look at Nasdaq, and this is the Nasdaq chart, right? And I have, we talk about this in the program as well, because we're analyzing what's going on in the macro and looking at these equities as well, and stocks and all that, and currencies. So maybe there'll be something that will trigger a little bit of a rally in Nasdaq, right? If Jay Powell is somewhat dovish and say, well, with the growth, with the global growth kind of slowing, with the threats of war or a global war or whatever, right? They want to be cautious. Maybe they're going to say, hey, we're not stopping the asset purchases, or the pace that we're going to reduce that is going to slow down. The rate increase, we're going to be data dependent, and all he's got to do is just sound dovish than the market expects, right? Then you can get a pretty big rally. Think about this. The tech sector has been beaten down really, a lot for the past year already, right? So there's a lot of bearishness up there into that sector. And since Bitcoin, it's kind of correlated to that, since it's a tech development in here, right? It could mean that you might have a big squeeze coming into Bitcoin, along with the rest of the technology market. If he's hawkish for whatever reason, and if he starts to say that they're going to increase every single time, or maybe what if they do a 50% increase at this meeting, right? Then sure enough, you're going to get a bigger sell-off. But either way, I think that the structure in here tells you that you might be towards the end here. If you kind of break down a little bit in here, right? I'm seeing that this is an impulse in A, B, and then I'm looking almost like a finished structure here. Let's say maybe in a wave W. That's an A, B, and then C, A, B, C for a W, then up in X, and then down in C later. But overall, I mean, the structure still looks pretty bullish at a larger degree, right? If you look at the 2-week chart, right, we're still kind of trending inside this channel. We're back towards the middle. We can find a little bit of a push in here. Maybe it's just going to be a B wave, or maybe you're pushing to new all-time highs. But I am expecting a rally coming in here into the equity markets in Nasdaq as well, and maybe that's going to be triggered by the Fed Jay Powell. But listen to that. I mean, we can't really look at Bitcoin in a vacuum. I have my game plan on. I'm going to watch what's going on in the macro and what the Fed is going to do, what the global central banks are also doing. That's very important. You look at the European Central Bank, you look at Aussie, you look at Canada, you look at Kiwi, you look at Germany, France, and just kind of see what's the sniff in the globe regarding risk. Because if we're going into a period of slowdown and the central banks are going to start easing again, or even if they raise, they're not able to raise too much because they're going to break the markets, then the next leg higher will begin in Bitcoin and in technology and in stocks. Okay, that's very important. So on that note, not blabbering out of me, I'll leave it at that. Guys, please subscribe to this channel. Please share it, and give me a like. Come and visit us in the Pro Room if you want. Try us out for a month, whatever. And I'll see you, next week, early next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll do some more videos on some stocks I have on my radar, and we'll continue to move on the chart of the day videos that I have on there. And then this one, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'll see you back in a couple of weeks. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.